Hello, CAT aspirants, and welcome to the new reading comprehension passage. So here we have one of the direction for question, um, and the direction says that answer the following questions based on the information given below. Well, what I assume that you have gone through this text, yet I would like to have a kind of a discussion on this particular passage more. So, what this passage is all about? Let's read that. So that passage states here, if we are to ensure the long-term future of the liberal arts, we must reframe and rethink how we teach our students about the work that the humanities can do in the world. While the humanities have been dramatically sidelined in the past, such changes are crucial to demonstrating how valuing them anew offers us ways to reimagine the university as a site of justice. For public higher education, the COVID 19 pandemic has exacerbated the effects of a long decline in public funding. For years, colleges and universities have been eking out their continued existence throughout austerity measures, making small, often unstrategic cuts to budget while attempting to maintain operations under increasingly tenuous circumstances. Now, they have been confronted with the financial challenges of the pandemic. These include refunds for auxiliary services like housing and dining, the cost of remote learning, the predatory educational technology sector rushing to provide solutions, the cost of cleaning and testing protocols, and declining enrollments from a student population unsure of whether to take on the financial burden of post-secondary education amid a public health crisis and the attendant economic crisis. Having already embraced austerity, colleges and universities are helpless before the pandemic's new challenges. Indeed, there is nothing left to cut. Three stimulus packages from Congress have stabbed up imminent clauses for most universities, but this has far from solved the longer term institutional challenges of the untenable funding model of privatization coupled with the demographic shift that leave particular regions vulnerable to the enrollment cliff, a projected drop in the number of students attending college that appears by 2026 due to the precipitous decline in the US birth rate from 2008 to 2011. Continuing the austerity model, that is, managing these issues through furloughs, layoffs, and programs closures, remains on the table. Meanwhile, upper administration and boards struggle to carve out a new, more sustainable model for higher education or face closure. As happens in such situations, attention to metrics like enrollments and credit hours prompts these leaders to identify profitable programs through their business intelligence or other data driven metric. While this is valuable data, the tendency of boards and presidents to view it piecemeal, department by department, measure to measure, credit hour to credit hour, puts lower enrolled majors in a precarious position. Failing to consider the cost of delivery of programs, the role of service departments in supporting majors with higher enrollments through general education, or the wage liberal arts program subsidize other areas of the university often seems to lead to a familiar conclusion. The humanities and social sciences are areas to cut. Such cuts were once a tragedy, now they are unconscionable. We need the insights of the humanities now as much as ever. Black, brown, indigenous people continue to face unabated violence and brutality, aided and abetted by legal and judicial system. The racial and ethnic disparities in healthcare that have always existed in the United States have been laid bare by the COVID 19 pandemic, which has disproportionately affected Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. Centuries of inequities, born from indigenous disposition and racial capitalism, have finally started to garner attention in the public sphere. Our moment is now. People in the United States must be prepared to work toward and demand an end to the continuous oppression that so many face in this unit work the humanities can help. Now, what this passage actually pointed here. The passage, you could say that discusses the challenges faced by whom? Faced by the liberal arts in higher education, particularly you can say exacerbated or excessive harmful situation by the COVID-19, right? By the COVID-19, isn't it? So, pandemic and long-term declines in public funding. It argues for a referring to a reframing that what how the humanities are taught and valued, right? Taught and you can say that valued, so emphasizing their importance in addressing societal issues and advocating for justice, right? So the passage highlights the financial struggles of colleges and universities, the impact of austerity measures, and the need to prioritize the humanities despite budgetary constraints. It concludes by, you can say that you can talk about urging action to address systematic inequalities, with the humanities playing a vital role in this endeavor. Now, if you look into the main ideas of this text, so the main ideas of the text is what? The same, the liberal arts face challenges in higher education due to funding cuts and the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 pandemic. There is need to rethink how the humanities are taught and valued to demonstrate the relevance and importance in addressing societal issues. Financial budget struggles and austerity measures have further compounded the challenges faced by colleges and universities. That's what also you would find out. Despite financial constraint, it is essential to prioritize the humanities in education to address systematic inequalities and advocate for justice. So, if I talk about the style of the passage is nothing but informative, and you can say it's a persuasive too. It's a persuasive, right? It presents a clear analysis of the challenges facing the liberal arts in higher education and argues for the importance of reframing how the humanities are perceived and taught. So the language is formal, and you could say that articulate also, right? With a focus on conveying the urgency of the situation and advocating there or for change. Now, if I talk about the tone of the passage is what? Urgent and impassioned. Impassioned, isn't it? So the author expresses concern about the current state of the liberal arts in higher education and the need for immediate action to address the challenges they face. There is a sense of urgency in advocating for the value of the humanities in addressing societal issues and advocating for justice despite financial constraints and systematic inequalities. Now, jump to the question. So, what does the question point out? What has exacerbated the financial challenges faced by public higher education institutions during COVID-19 pandemic, according to the passage? Now, the question asks about what? The factor, right? The factor that has worsened, you could say that the financial challenges for public higher education institution during the COVID-19 pandemic, as stated in the passage. Let's look at the each and every option and analyze them. The first option said a decline in enrollment due to economic uncertainty. Now, this choice is not actually correct because it attributes declining enrollment to economic uncertainty, while the passage links it to the financial burden of post-secondary post-secondary education during the pandemic, right? So in that case, this option is not taken as the answer to it. So moving to the option two, reforms for auxiliary services like housing and dining. Yes, this could be known as a appropriate one, because if you observe in the yeah second and third paragraph, so where it is stated about, yes, look into it. This includes refunds for auxiliary services like housing and dining, the cost of remote learning, the predatory educational technology sector rushing to provide solution the cost of cleaning and testing protocols, and declining enrollments from a student population not sure to whether to take on the financial burden of post-secondary education in the midst of a public health crisis and attendant economic crisis. So, if you talk about that, yes, this could be called as excessive harmful for the financial challenge faced by public higher education institution during the COVID-19. But is that refund for supportive services like housing and dining? Now, moving to the third option stated the privatization of the, you can say that education sector, the privatization of the education sector. So, when we talk about the privatization of the education sector, the passage discusses what the untenable funding model, untenable funding model, uh, that's of privatization, but does not specifically, you can talk about mention it as a factor exacerbating financial challenges during the pandemic. So hence option 3 cannot be taken. Option 4, the lack of emphasis on human education. So the passage again advocates what? Advocates for the uh, importance, for the importance of humanity education, but doesn't indicate that the lack of emphasis, right, on it has exacerbated financial challenges during the pandemic. Therefore, you also eliminate option 4. So option 1, 3, 4 are eliminated because of the contrast and also disrupting the ideas, right? Or considering as not considering as a excessive harmful. Only option 2, which will be considered as the correct answer, as it's provided, as the answer is provided on the basis of the passage information. So hence you can consider option 2 would be the appropriate answer to it. I hope you understood it. That's all. Thank you.